Hey y'all, welcome to a best of edition of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. These best of editions of the show feature amazing guests and episodes of the podcast you may have missed when they first aired. If you are new to the show, these are those can't miss episodes we really want you to listen to. Or maybe you're a long-time listener. We want to bring these episodes back around for you to enjoy again. Our goal is to bring you our best content every week so you have everything that you need to build a better future for your family. So wherever you are listening today, enjoy this week's best of edition of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
Hey y'all, on today's podcast, we celebrate our 100th episode with our special guest, Pat Flynn.
Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. Join us each week as we teach you how to flip your lifestyle upside down by selling stuff online. Are you ready for something different? All right, let's get started.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. We are super excited that you are here listening today because we are celebrating our 100th episode of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
That's right. We have been coming to you for almost 2 years now, which is pretty awesome.
And we're just so thankful for our audience. It's amazing every week as we watch it grow. And we are just thankful that you have stuck it out with us and that you're here listening week after week. And we can't wait to bring you more great content going forward. You know, we're not done at 100. We're going to keep this thing going as long as we can until we can accomplish our goals of helping as many families as possible flip their life with online business. Now, normally our show is all about bringing our members of our Flip Your Life community on, giving them a live consulting call right on the air, helping them take their online business to the next level, and sharing that with you guys, the listeners, so that you can pick up tips and that you can take your online business to the next level as well. But for the 100th episode, and just the 100th episode, we're going to change things up a little bit. You know, we normally don't bring on experts or gurus or any kind of guests onto our show, but today we're going to make an exception. You know, we discovered online business by listening to podcasts, just like you're doing right now. And one guy was very influential in our early days getting started online. So to bring everything full circle, we wanted to bring on a good friend of ours, the guy that kind of introduced us to online business, onto the show and just talk about the journey so far, talk a little bit about life and a little bit about business. Today's guest on the show is none other than Pat Flynn.
And for those of you who don't know Pat, and there are some people out there, one of the reasons that I knew that we had sort of made it is because one time somebody said that they had discovered Pat Flynn through our podcast. So I thought that
Thanks
was
for introducing me to that Pat Flynn guy. He's pretty good.
You're welcome, Pat. So you can find Pat over at smartpassiveincome.com, and he also has the Smart Passive Income podcast, so definitely check that out. You can also listen to our episode on Pat's podcast by clicking on the link in today's show notes, and you can find that over at fliplifestyle.com/episode 100. We first met Pat in person in 2013 at a live event, and that live event led to our SPI episode that I just mentioned, and also to the launch of this website and this podcast.
And also, we've maintained that relationship with Pat over the years. We've got a lot in common with Pat. You know, our family makeup is very the same. We've got young kids, a little boy and a little girl. And we just have a lot in common with Pat. He's a great guy to hang out with and talk to. Just one of the most real people that you'll ever meet in the online space. He's exactly like you would think he is in person as he is on his podcast. We get to see and hang out with Pat whenever we go to live events around the country. We're actually at Podcast Movement right now in Chicago, and that's how we were able to get up with Pat and get this interview done. Pat even makes special appearances sometimes. He actually showed up at one of our live events. He was at a Flip Your Life Live event out in San Diego, so you never know who's going to show up at Flip Your Life Live if you want to ever come hang out with us in person. But he's just a super great guy, gracious guy, really genuine, and we were really appreciative of him for coming on the show and talking to you guys a little bit about what it's like to really live the flipped lifestyle. What does it look like when your online business makes it? Kind of keep that out there. You know, what are you working for as you're trying to flip your life? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to stay away from the online business stuff. This isn't going to be anything about Pat's story or how, you know, you can find that in a lot of other places. We're going to get real with Pat today and talk about raising kids, how to have an online business with kids in the house, how to work from home. And we're going to get into some things you may not have heard from him on other shows.
Before we jump into today's interview with Pat, we just wanted to say thank you to all of our awesome listeners and our members who have just sent us these amazing stories of how you've changed your life based on maybe something we've talked about in the podcast, something that we've helped you with in our community. Those stories are just so impactful for us. And maybe you're just somebody who's listened. Maybe you've never reached out to us before. We don't really answer our own emails anymore, but we do get those stories like passed on to us. And one thing that we do read regularly are iTunes reviews. And so if you have not left an iTunes review for us in the past and we provided some type of value for you over the last 100 episodes, we would genuinely appreciate you doing that, just taking the opportunity to let us know about that and helping us to be able to serve you better by just knowing a little bit more about you and what kind of help you need with online business.
iTunes reviews are really important for the rankings and helping us grow our podcast, helping us reach more people, reach more families to help them flip their lives. And we would just love it if you guys would go leave us a word. What does the Flipped Lifestyle podcast mean to you? What have these last 100 episodes done for you in your online journey? And just tell others about our podcast so that we can grow this thing. And in our next 100 episodes, we can help more families flip their lives through online business. All right, guys, without further ado, let's jump right into our interview with Pat Flynn. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Great to be back with you again this week. Got a little bit something different for you this week. We are celebrating our 100th episode of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Jocelyn, how crazy is it that we've been doing this for 2 years? I didn't even realize that until 2 weeks ago.
Kind of awesome. I love it. We're here in Chicago hanging out at Podcast Movement, and it's awesome.
We got a spectacular view on the 27th floor of this hotel, too. For those of you who are regular listeners to our show, you know that we usually bring on a member of our Flip Your Life community, and we give them a free consulting call live on the air. But today we have something a little bit different. We have a special treat for you guys. Normally we don't bring on experts or guests, but today is an exception to the rule. Our guest today is our good friend, the one and only Pat Flynn. Pat, welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Happy to be here in, I don't know what floor we're on, but
many
the top
floors
of a
up.
Tower overlooking the Chicago River.
It's unbelievable.
Is that what it's called, the Chicago River?
I think it's a canal or something. That's a lake and there's
body
water.
Of water
there's
right
something
here.
at boats.
It's beautiful.
There's things happening down
I'm just
there.
so happy to be here, and congrats on episode 100, guys. I know how big of a deal that actually is.
Yeah, man. It was awesome when we, I didn't even notice. Jocelyn looked up and goes, I think we're almost to episode 100. And we started looking and we're like, oh man, we got to blow this
right?
out.
Like you don't even know how many of these you do after.
It just kind of all runs together a little bit. You remember everything, but then it's like, it just becomes a part of your life,
right?
You know?
Do you guys know your previous episodes by heart, like the number and the guests?
No. I'm always mesmerized at your like magic ability to be able to do that, because like someone will be like, hey, I was on your show this episode, or I heard so-and-so's episode. What number was that? And I'll be like, Google it. That'd be great. You know what I'm saying? And we actually do that too, like, because we bring on our members. So sometimes, like, 6 months, 8 months down the road, we'll be like, okay, has this person been on the show before? And we'll Google it ourselves to make sure we haven't already interviewed. You know what I mean?
As soon as we realized that our 100th show was coming up, we knew that we wanted to have you on. And for those of you who may not know, we actually discovered online business when Shane randomly stumbled across Pat's Smart Passive Income podcast in 2012. So Pat was kind of the spark that started us down this online business path. And today we're sort of bringing everything full circle on this special 100th episode. And once we quit our teaching jobs back in, was it 2013?
I think it was 2013, yeah.
We knew that we had to go out to San Diego to meet you in person. And a lot of people know the story of Shane jumping off the lawnmower to come in and tell me that he had discovered you and your podcast. And if you don't know about that, we can link to Pat's episode. It is 122. Of your Smart Passive Income podcast.
Let me throw something in here. We actually sold that lawnmower last summer.
I would have bought it.
I know, right? And like you would have put that on your front lawn and been like,
yeah,
that was the lawnmower,
a piece of it,
right? But I'm glad we have the picture to remember it by.
Oh, it's so good.
We still have the picture, but yeah, we sold that.
Such a good story, though.
And I remember when we sold it to the guy and he was putting it up on the truck, and I looked at it and I went, a little tear was like in my eye a little bit. I was like, goodbye, lawnmower.
Well, the good news is we don't have to mow our lawn anymore.
We don't have to mow our lawn. We don't mow our yard anymore, so it's like we had to get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like a happy and sad type thing. But can you tell us a little bit about what you remember about the first time that you met us?
Well, just obviously, anybody who listens to the show knows just the passion behind what you guys do, and the excitement and the energy, I think, is just the one thing I've noticed. And it still continues to be there ever since that first day. Like, it was almost like, you walk into a room and then surprise, and you're just all this energy in a room, like when you get surprised with like a birthday party or something.
Right.
Like that's how I feel whenever I'm in a room with you guys. It's like high energy, fun, exciting. It never changes. You guys are always the same and so super honest. And then we went out to get barbecue that one time.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. What was that place called? It was in Maine.
It was in Maine, which is kind of random. But we were there for an event, and we just had such a great time talking about family. I mean, that's the one other thing I love about you guys. I mean, you guys are all about, the lifestyle, obviously.
For sure.
And not just building businesses, but what that actually means and what it can do for you and your life and your kids and stuff. So, immediate connections. We've been friends ever since. So I'm just very blessed to be a part of your guys' journey.
Yeah, man. That was an awesome experience for us too. The first time we ever met you was at that event you had with Ducker.
Yeah.
And it was cool because we had quit our jobs already, and we had figured out this digital product thing and how to make our income online. But then I told you guys a story at that event about a friend of ours that we helped sell some stuff online, and they made like enough money to pay their mortgage. And I'll never forget that guy, my friend, coming up to me at church going, "Man, that really changed our life. That impacted us." And when we were getting ready to go to One Day BB, we were going to talk a little bit about our education stuff, but we really felt confident we had that part under control. And then we came up with this crazy idea to start Flip Lifestyle, and that's what we actually talked about. So this whole thing was actually kind of born there, when we talked to you a little bit about how to do this and how to scale it out. You know what I mean? So great stuff. Pat, let's move into some other. You mentioned family and friends and the stuff that we really do online business for. I think a lot of people hear many experts, I'm going to use that quote unquote, out there, they talk about this lifestyle of being rich or famous or the beach thing. And,
right.
And it kind of gives this weird impression to people, especially families who are like, I've got kids. How could I possibly do that? How can all of that jive together? So tell the families and the people out there with kids that listen to our show, what is it like being an online entrepreneur, raising kids, and tell us a little bit about your family and how that kind of flows in and out of your podcast and your business.
Sure. Well, I love talking about family and how it integrates into my business and vice versa. And that's what I feel like it is. It's all one thing. A lot of people try to separate work with their personal life. And when you're working a 9 to 5, that's kind of how it is. And you go home and then you're away from your office and stuff. But when you're an entrepreneur, especially when you work from home, like it has to be both integrated but also separate,
right?
So that you can get things done. I mean, that's been one of the hardest things, especially when the kids were much younger. Was just I felt like there was no time, because I had to be a father and a husband, but I also had my business to run. So how do I do all that? So it took a lot of just being conscious of my input and output of everything, and so and actually it took a lot of a few heated conversations with my wife and I just to really understand what was important for both of us. I mean, because even though I'm the one doing the business, April's the one running the house, and taking care of the kids. So communication became very important too. And setting up those boundaries between, work and not working was really important so that I could be fully 100% in whatever I was supposed to be doing at that time.
Now, how old are your kids?
My kids, my son is 6 now, entering first grade after the summer. And then my daughter is 3 and she'll be going to preschool. So that's actually the other thing I've learned is that when you're growing up with kids, I mean, things happen so fast for them. New milestones, new experiences for them that just have a complete effect on what you're doing. Like the moment you feel comfortable with something changes, right? When they're kids, it's like, okay, they're finally sleeping and now there's a tooth coming in, so they're just waking up in the middle of the night.
Right.
From that to, wow, now he's in school and now every day I have to wake up and do this thing every day to bring him to school and pick him up. And, that's been interesting. And, it has opened up more time, but also decreases the amount of flexibility we have on going on to trips and all that kind of stuff. It's just, again, it's all about communication. Every family is different, I feel, but as long as you're conscious about the work that you do and why you're doing it, and also those around you who are affected by it, you can make things work. And adapting and having conversations and just adjusting over time has been really important. For me, the top 2 things that have helped me with increasing my productivity in my business, even though I'm working at home with a family, is setting boundaries in terms of time and schedule. I now wake up at 5 a.m. every day.
That's good.
To do a lot of work before the kids get up.
Yeah.
Because when the kids are up, it's very difficult to get work done. And I can get a lot more done in 2 hours in the morning and 3 hours at night than 8 hours during the day when they're awake. Because that transition time between getting interrupted and trying to get back into your zone, it's just, I don't know where I read this, but I heard that people spend 3 hours of their day in transition time. trying to get into the zone of work where it's kind of half work and you're just trying to get back into where you were going. And then all of a sudden you have a kid who's interrupting you and you have to start from scratch again, getting back into we waste so much time doing that. So I don't even fight it anymore.
Yeah,
you
can't.
I work with it, or around it.
It's funny, we in our space, there's a lot of successful people that we get to interact with, but a lot of them don't have kids. And a lot of the things that they use for productivity, the tools, the tips, the tactics, don't work for us. Right. Because with kids, I always say, my day starts at really about 19 hours. We don't have 24 hours because we do have that transition time. We do have those non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. Our kids are going to take that amount of time just to make their lunch, just to make their breakfast. And you really have to be vigilant and work around that or you're going to get way behind.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I think that sometimes it can be beneficial that we do have children that are this age because we're sort of forced into making a schedule and sticking to a schedule. You don't really have a choice because they're going to be awake from these hours to these hours and you have to help them. The age that our kids are, ours are 7 and 5 and, they don't do a lot for themselves right now. Mm-hmm. So we have to constantly be there taking care of them, which is awesome. But, it can be challenging too.
Right. I mean, this is a huge topic. There's a lot of things that go along with this. I mean, I use my kids as motivation for being productive because I feel like if I'm working and I find myself in a YouTube wormhole where I've gone, 7 videos down the line or, even if I'm doing stuff that on the surface might seem productive, but it's not relevant to my next task, I'm wasting time. And I feel like that when I'm wasting time in my business, I'm taking time away from my kids. And man, that has helped me so much in terms of, okay, how do I streamline this? How do I get rid of all the extra steps that I don't need? How do I outsource this so that I don't take time away from the kids? And that has been completely life-changing for me as well.
It's been really, our big challenge at the beginning was that, we didn't have that straight division. Like you said earlier, like you run your business. You guys, in your family, you've decided April's going to run the household. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And for us, it was weird because we were like, oh crap, we're both doing this. So we had to come to some other kind of compromises. Like we do use childcare during the day, even in the summertime when the kids are home from school. They don't stay over there forever, but from 9:30 to 2:30, they've got to be somewhere else so that we can get that really productive time in, and we both can divide and conquer. And then we have multiple businesses too. So and you do multiple projects.
Right.
So sometimes I might have to get up at 5, or she might have to get up at 6 to do something. And you just have to find some way to solve that time crunch problem when you have kids.
That's so important. And you guys talked about that to figure that out. I mean, I know a lot of people in the same position who are trying to force things. And it just, when you try to force something, it never works out.
No.
Somebody always gets upset or just not everybody's happy in that situation. So it's really good that you guys talked about that. Another thing that I had talked about integration in terms of business and personal life. It's not completely separate. I actually get my kids involved now. They're at the age of where they understand things, especially my son, who's 6. He and I don't know if you know this, but we record a podcast every week together. It's not public or anything, but we just save those in the archive, and maybe they'll be public one day. But I get him on the microphone just like we're doing right now, and I just interview him and we chat. And I tell him to ask me questions too. I'm just getting him used to the idea of just using your voice and putting yourself out there and being in this world, I want to get him involved and show him what daddy does. So when somebody asks him, he knows instead of just is like, oh, he works in his office, but he can say like, oh, he has a podcast. And I remember he was 4, we were at a playground one time and he would just go up to the other random parents and say, my daddy has a podcast.
That's
like
awesome.
Just randomly. And then they would come over and be like, oh, that's cool. What's your podcast about? And I'm like, I swear I didn't pay him to do that or anything. Like he just is really proud that he knows that this is what I do. And now he's at the age of where he's starting to think and solve problems. And I'm always teaching him every single day. A business is successful when it solves problems. So what problems have you seen today? And we always talk about that on our quote show. And he comes up with these crazy ideas. Sometimes they're super wacky, but they're really creative. And sometimes he's come up with ideas that already exist. I'm like, there is a product that does that. And he's like, oh man, like I wish
I didn't invent that.
Yeah, but I'm like, well, you can make it better.
Isaac, it's funny you said that too, because like we actually, Isaac and Anna, like people would ask them like, what do you guys do? And Isaac would just look at them and go, yeah, they live the flipped lifestyle. That's what he would say to him. and I was like, he's like, they flip lives or something.
But do you buy other people and sell them for more?
Yeah, exactly, right.
Flipping?
And we fix them up and send them back out. It's like plastic surgery and stuff. But Isaac actually came to us a couple months ago and he basically said, you know, can we do what you guys do? He's like, could we have a YouTube channel? And he's like, I'll never forget the first time he ever said it. He said, you know, because I'm sure he's heard us say expert enough, because we always tell people you got to be expert enough. You know something that someone else doesn't, and you can teach them. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know, I am in first grade. I could teach the kindergarten kids how to play Minecraft. And I'm like, oh, you're onto something here, boyo. You know, right? Exactly.
I've gotten involved in Minecraft now.
Yeah, I told you. I think I told you about Minecraft last time we were talking. I said you need to let your kids play Minecraft, and I planted that seed in your head.
Maybe
to let
you
it,
did. I don't know, subconsciously. But my son came home from school and he's like, "Daddy, can I play Minecraft?" And I was like, I remember that conversation. And I was like, okay, well, I started to do research, and I was like, this is a little scary, right? Like, you can have these kids in these games, and it's like there's zombies and stuff, and you can even have other kids on the same server. Like, I don't know if he's ready for that. But then I started to see Minecraft being used for education.
Oh, yeah.
And problem solving and creativity. They're actually putting it into the curriculum in certain countries.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, well,
there's camps. You go to summer camps.
My son's going to Minecraft camp next week.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And they're going to teach programming.
That's amazing.
With that.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to download this game myself to see what it's like, so I can speak the same language as
him.
And
you got addicted.
Dude, I got addicted.
Yeah, right.
Like, I would play, and all of a sudden I'd look at the clock. It's like 4 a.m.
You're like, I got to get up. I got to start working in an hour.
Finish this castle.
Yeah, right.
Man, but it's been a great experience.
But it's cool going back to like what you said, though. Like, Isaac asked us to do that, and we actually just launched their YouTube channel, Flip Lifestyle Kids, where Anna and Isaac, they want to do toys and unboxing and things like that.
Cool.
But then we also got them, they want to do travel reviews, because Isaac wanted to, he's like, you know, I don't think a lot of kids get to go to places like this. We should show them what it's like. And you know what I mean? So like, we've started this YouTube with these travel reviews and things like that.
Okay, so we're talking about sort of how we're raising our kids and how they're sort of aware of what we do. And I know that for you also, like, your kids probably don't remember a time where you worked a different job.
Yeah.
I know our kids don't, because we were teachers, but I mean, they were really young when we were teachers. So, you know, with all that in mind, like, how are you deliberately, like, raising them to continue to be different, like to continue on this legacy that you don't have to be stuck behind a desk from 9 to 5? What are you guys doing? Like, how are you intentional about that?
I mean, like I said earlier, we're getting involved with what I do. And now that they're kind of conscious about the fact that we're different than other parents out there. I mean, my son has come back from school and he's like, Daddy, so-and-so's father is gone every day. Like, and you don't have to talk to him about it. But then I share how awesome it is to be an entrepreneur and the fact that we have these flexible hours and, you know, opportunities in front of us. So, you know, I do try to inject sort of entrepreneurial strategies, I guess you could say, or mindsets, if you will. That's probably the better word, into him. You know, for example, every day when I drop him off at school, I ask him, "Hey, bud, how do you change the world?" And he goes, "By helping people." And so every day, you know, that's what it's all about. So, and the funny thing was the other day, actually, another thing we talk about is complaining, because that's something a lot of kids do, and that was something that April and I were just getting so frustrated with. Like, stop complaining, like. And I taught him that, you know, complaining doesn't actually help solve the problem. Like, okay, you're complaining, you're frustrated, that's fine. But how are you going to solve this problem?
When my kids do that, if they were here right now, I could look at them and go, Anna Joe, whiners and criers get nothing. That's exactly what I say to them every time. Because it is like that. When we were teachers, man, I actually stopped going out in the hall between classes, because you would stand with the other teachers, the kids would be going to class, everybody would talk, but it was just total complaints and negativity, and I hate life and my job, and
you don't want to be around that.
You don't want to be around that.
No. And we have this thing called the complaint jar, where every time they complain, they have to take a quarter and put it in the complaint jar. And if we see them coming up with a tough situation and they try to solve the problem first, then we take one of the quarters back out and put it back into their wallet, which is really cool. And that alone has really helped out. And the other day, my daughter, who's 3, she was complaining about something. I forget what she was doing, but she was building something and just wasn't fitting the right way, and she was just about to cry. And then Keone, he goes, Kai, are you trying to solve the problem? How are you trying to solve the problem? Like, stop complaining. It was really cool to see him now teach her.
I actually heard Isaac the other day say to Anna, don't tell me the problem, tell me the solution. Because I say that like all the time, like anytime something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And like, but I say, it's so funny because he said the exact same. Anna was like, this won't work. And he was like, don't tell me about the problem. Tell me about the solution. Yeah. And it's so funny that they do pick up those things.
Yeah, they do. And he knows that I go out and speak in front of a lot of people all the time, and you know, that's one thing that I want to get him comfortable with doing too. presenting your ideas, being comfortable with that. And we're really lucky that he's in a school that actually promotes that. He's in a STEM school where they, for a long period of time will work on a single project, and then at the end have the parents come in and do a showcase, and they'll kind of share their ideas. And we were at a showcase at the end of the year here, and he had been working on this thing related to renewable energy and solar power and stuff, which is really cool because we run solar in our house too. So he was asking us a bunch of questions about it, and he created this little presentation board about it and stuff, which is really cool. But then we went there. All the kids were in the auditorium. They were all ready to present. They had all their poster boards up, and then the parents were gathered outside, and we were ready to go in. And the teachers were like, "Okay, we're going to send you in there, but please do not go to your own kids' station first. Go to other kids' stations, ask them questions. We want to teach these kids about presenting their ideas to people they don't know and getting comfortable with that, because that's a real life skill that isn't often taught." And I was like crying because I was like, yes.
Like, why didn't someone do this for me?
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it took me until college to figure out the benefit of actually just putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, and that was through my architecture work, where we had to work on a large project for a long time and then get up in front of real architects and get feedback. And it was so hard for me to do that. Like, I just want to throw up before doing that.
But getting our kids used to that, I think consciously about that too. Like, Jocelyn loves dance. And, I'm kind of like, I got to go to this 8-hour dance recital to see my kid dance 2 minutes. You know what I mean? But like, it is so good because you put your kids in front of people. Isaac is really anxious about that, like getting in front of people. But like, we have him in swimming, and he's like, the first day he was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, no, we're going to get you over this now.
Yeah,
you're going to go out there. You're going to race in front of people, and it's going to become a part of your life. So it never becomes something you're scared of in your life.
And the big thing for me is like, even though I would love for my son to become an entrepreneur, I'm not telling him straight up that, you should be an entrepreneur, but I want to have him earn the skills and know the skills to understand that he has the ability to do whatever he wants. Maybe he'll be an employee, but he's going to be the best employee there is, who's going to solve problems, who's going to understand these principles that are going to be, relevant for whatever he chooses to do.
Yeah. What do you think about college for your kids? Like, I mean, besides the fact we want our kids to choose their own path.
Yeah.
But like, Jocelyn and I talk about this, and we'll tell you what we think after we hear what you think. But like we've got like differing opinions, I think, a little bit about this. But like, what we've all been through college, we've been through that experience, we've been through the journey of the 9 to 5 to the online business.
Right.
So what do you think about that path?
I get asked about this a lot, and I'm very thankful with the path that I took, even though I'm not in architecture anymore. Obviously, that led to everything that happened here. Or getting me to where I'm at today. But, a lot of people are like, hey, Pat, are you going to put your kids through college? And I always tell them, that's going to be their own decision, but we'll set them up so that if they want to, they can. There are different parts of it, right? The getting a degree part is actually not the important part, I feel. I think if you are going into certain fields, though, that's obviously very important. And if they have a passion for that, great, go do it. But I feel that the experience that comes along with the college life, time management, networking, like that sort of thing, finding the right people, that I feel is worth going to college.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's the way that I feel. I feel like college is sort of like your adult trial period. You still got the safety net of mom and dad, but then you're still learning to do your own laundry. You're learning to...
It's the lead magnet to life.
Like you're...
You did not.
I did say that. It's leave that in. You leave that in.
Okay.
I wouldn't pay $40,000 a year for a lead magnet, though.
That's right. That's an expensive introductory offer, sort of.
But I think it's just a good... like you said, a transitional period to becoming an adult and just, learning about what the world is really like outside of mom and dad's little safe cocoon.
Yeah, for sure. What about like, let's fall back into the now. We touched a little bit about, those boundaries with our kids at home. Mm-hmm. Like the thing that always hurts me or just like pains my soul is when we are working there and like Anna Joe, it's worse with my daughter. I'm hardcore on Isaac. I'll be like, go back in there. I'll be there in a minute. You know what I mean? But like Anna comes up and she blinks her little eyes at me and she says, can I sit in your lap? And I'm like, I'm doing something, but yes, you can. Yeah. Like, how do you do that? Or is there like, or do you have it like so hardcore? You're like, no, it is boundary time. I shut and lock the door. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not hardcore. And, I think my wife plays a big role in this. She understands when I'm doing certain things. Like I try to not work when the kids are awake. That's the easy answer, right? But it's not always possible.
No, it's not possible.
Especially when I'm doing interviews, I'm not going to force somebody to stay up till midnight to do an interview with me, unless they're in Australia and
Then it works out pretty good.
Then it works out pretty well. But if I'm doing something in the middle of the day, if there's a big launch or something and I have to be there for a webinar and whatnot, I communicate with my wife, hey, I'm doing this webinar. I have to be like 100% there. Do you mind just making sure that the kids don't interrupt? And she'll be good and like take them to the park, which is gorgeous. It's not a gorgeous park, but a gorgeous situation is what I'm trying to say. That she is a part of the team too. And, I just want to give her a ton of credit because she's the most underrated player of Team Flynn. And she sees me go to these conferences, and I've learned to not share too many pictures with her because
don't show her the steak,
dude. What did I tell you that story?
You've told me. Tell everybody that story.
So it was one of my first conferences that I went to. I was so excited to be like a featured speaker, and April was very supportive of obviously with me going, but she was at home watching the kids, and apparently they were just getting on her nerves and whatnot, which they often do. And
we have no idea what that would be like.
Idea.
Yeah, right. And then I'm at this amazing dinner, like $150 steak dinner, right? And I snap a photo and I send it to her. I'm like, look at this amazing steak dinner. Wish you were here. And then she sends back almost immediately a picture of her dinner, which was a half-eaten bowl of mac and cheese.
Oh man, bad times.
And she didn't say a word after that. No text, no nothing. I was just like, crap, I should have.
Right.
So I'm very aware, but point of the story is like she works so hard and she doesn't get a lot of credit for it. Being the mom, stay-at-home mom, choosing to be a stay-at-home mom, even though she wants to have her own thing,
right,
for the kids. I mean, I just respect her so much and I love her for that. And she sees me go out and people want to take pictures with me. I'm starting to get recognized in public now, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, I'm like, and this is my wife, guys. Like,
right.
Look at this is anyway. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. But I like how you guys really got your expectations out there. We heard somewhere, I can't remember where it was, that the source of most fights between people is a difference in expectations.
Yep.
So if both of you have your expectations out there, she knows what you expect, you know what she expects, then that just helps that conversation and just everyday life. It helps it go a lot more smoothly. And we started doing this since we heard that. I'll tell Shane, my expectation is this.
Like we start with that phrase now because like it's so cool because, for anybody listening to the show, you can hear one thing we always stress is there's more than one path. There's more than one way to do it. Everyone can figure it out. We do it at the same time and balance the kids with other tools. You guys do it by dividing your household and your business. We've got a member of our community who has 6 kids and did this on her own while her husband had a full-time job. And we were like, props, but like
she got a full-time job also.
She had a full-time job also.
What?
So it just shows that like it doesn't matter necessarily what the solution is in your family situation. It just matters that you get a solution, you have clear expectations, you communicate it, and you do it. That's how you make it online, really.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Pat, let's shift gears just a little bit. One of our favorite things about Flip Lifestyle is the ripple effect and the worldwide impact that we're having on people. Just this week, we've had people from Israel and Singapore, and I think this morning...
Kuala Lumpur. We got a Kuala Lumpur
nice
member this morning of the Flip Your Life community.
So, that just blows my mind still. And we never imagined that like a couple of former teachers from Kentucky could impact people all over the world. Can you share with us an unexpected or maybe like a particularly impactful ripple effect moment since you've started Smart Passive Income?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to 2011, I think, when the podcast was up and running for, a year and a half, and it was starting to lose momentum. All the numbers were the same, and I was just like, why am I doing this? Every time I hit publish, I was like, man, I got to do another episode next week. It gets like that sometimes. So I was actually considering stopping the podcast because even back then I was initially a blogger and I loved blogging, and I was seeing much more growth with it. And as this was happening, as I was having these feelings, I got this email from a guy in Poland. His name is, I thought his name was Michael, but it's pronounced Michał. Michal, and it's just like incredibly long email, like an essay's worth of text. And typically when I get an essay's worth of text, I save it for later, but the subject line is what made me read it. And it said, Pat, you changed my life. Here's how. So I read on, and he had gone through this really tough situation where, he was doing extreme sports actually. And he had gone through a crazy injury. He had jumped off with a snowboard, this jump, and he just landed on his feet wrong, and he crushed both of his ankles. So he couldn't walk or do anything, and like his wife had to support him. He had to like get work from home, which was terrible, and like all these other things. Terrible situation. He showed me the X-rays at the bottom, and they're just like bolts just to hold him up. And then that's when he said he discovered my podcast because he had all this time. He was sitting in bed and was just completely depressed. He found my podcast. There was one particular episode he had listened to that was talking about goal setting and how you should always set goals that are almost impossible. Like not just what you know you can do, but nearly impossible. And he said that with 2 broken feet, that he was going to run a marathon. And that was his goal, with 2 broken feet. And so he set out every day to train, get rehabilitated, and then started doing his physical therapy. And he said he was listening to me every single day. He even called me his physical therapy coach in his ears every single day. And so after like a year, he said that he was training for his marathon, still listening to me every day. And then at the bottom of the email, he showed me this image of him crossing the finish line at the Warsaw Full Marathon in Poland.
Wow.
And you could see on his feet like these plates that are like holding his feet together. And he's holding up this sign, and it's in Polish, so I didn't know what it said, but he had translated it. It said, "Thank you, God. Thank you to his family." And then it said, "Thank you, Pat Flynn."
Wow.
On it.
So it didn't even have anything to do with online business. It was just like that motivational stuff.
It was so crazy. And the crazy thing is I've been keeping up with what he's been doing, and because he had all that time to listen to me and learn about online business, he's since created his own online business in Poland.
That's awesome.
And he is the #1 personal finance blogger in Poland now.
That's incredible.
And the crazy thing, you're talking about this ripple effect, he's now making a huge impact on other people's lives. And he's told this story before, and he tells a story about how I tell the story. It's kind of funny. But then now he has people, he showed me an image of somebody else crossing the finish line of a marathon holding his name up.
That's awesome.
And it's just, it blows my mind.
Down the chain.
Oh,
it
yeah.
goes,
You know, it's like, it just blows my mind the impact we can have. And the crazy thing about this is, I was about to give up on my podcast. Obviously, I haven't since then.
Right. Still here, kicking.
But if he hadn't emailed me, I mean, this was happening for a year and a half before.
He had a ripple effect on you.
Yeah.
To keep you going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, like, who knows who else is out there who just hasn't emailed me yet, you know, or emailed you guys, or those of you listening. Like, we have, using the tools in front of us right now, the ability to change lives. And we don't even know whose lives we're changing right now.
Yeah, we had a crazy email the other day. It was from a member of our community, and she said, and this is something I never even imagined would happen. It was like, we knew her story because we had brought her on the show. We helped her with her business, and she 5 extra business in like 6 months. And like, but that's not what the really impactful thing was. She sent us a message, and it said, "I just wanted you guys to know that, you know, you've helped me with my business. That's all great. But we have decided," apparently Ronald McDonald House had been a really big thing in her life. Like it had made a difference in her life. Mm-hmm. So she had made making so many more sales, so much more business. She now gives a portion of every sale in her company to the Ronald McDonald House. And I looked over at Jocelyn and said, and she said, the email, she said, "This wouldn't be possible if you hadn't helped me do X's." But I told Jocelyn, I said, "We're not necessarily donating to the Ronald McDonald House, but now this person is donating hundreds of dollars a month to the Ronald McDonald House, and that would not have happened if she had not come through our community, and if we had not decided to do Flip Lifestyle.
If we had not discovered your podcast, you know,
and if you had not kept going, and you just keep going back.
Let's keep going back. If I hadn't discovered the Internet Business Mastery, which is the first podcast I listened to,
exactly.
Which if I didn't buy an iPod that day, you know, it's like all these crazy things that led, and you know, we all have the same opportunity.
And also too, like it's funny when you look at the ripple effect, because I believe that we could both point back to a negative catalyst that drove us this way. Like you lost your job. Yep. Mm-hmm. We've told the story here and on other podcasts where we had a really bad situation at a daycare with our children. Like they were mistreating them, and I had a really bad experience with a boss that basically threatened to fire us if we're going to go take care of our kids. And that was really the catalyst that made me start looking for online business or some kind of alternative. So I think if you go back far enough in everyone's success story, they only see the good, but they don't ever see, you know, there was usually something negative that we rose to the occasion and went that way that started the ripple. The pebble's got to break the water before the ripple starts.
Have you ever heard of the book called The Dip by Seth Godin? I mean, same deal. You know, right before that inflection point, there's always a dip in your life.
For sure.
So hopefully encouraging to those of you out there with some struggles in your life, you know, it means that
it can be something positive for sure.
Yeah, there's just no more powerful words in the English language than "you changed my life." I mean, we see that from time to time.
Jocelyn
and-
gets tears. I always know when that happens because I look over and Jocelyn's crying. We got an email, didn't we? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. So, yeah, it's my favorite part about what we do. Okay, so we are now going on 5 years in online business.
Congrats.
And you are going on how long?
8 years.
Wow.
Crazy.
How does time fly that fast?
Right.
Yeah. And since this is our 100th podcast episode, and we always put life over work, what is your favorite thing that you've had the opportunity to experience because of online business?
Oh, man. I mean, my whole life, I feel like, could represent that. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, from being able to take my son to school with my wife every day and be there. You know, we've actually had teachers and other parents come up to us and be like, "How are you both able to come every day?" Like,
we get
that all the
you know,
time.
like, did you win the lottery? And I'm like, no, better. I have my own online business.
Right.
You know, so there's that.
Are you always the only dad at school functions? There's
yeah.
maybe one or two others, but I'm the only guy making tacos on Taco Day or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
I am, but there are some other dads there, and it's funny. They're all entrepreneurs too,
Cool.
who just have that flexible lifestyle.
cool.
You probably find that more in California than in Kentucky.
Right, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And then, you know, more recently, my daughter, who's 3, she's doing hula dancing. It's like a big thing in the Filipino community in San Diego is hula dancing. And so we were a little worried because this was a huge performance, the biggest one of her life. And the other 2 that she's done, which were just for friends and family, she's freaked out. She's gotten overwhelmed and just cried off stage. You know, you had to drag her on stage, and we just didn't want to force it. So it was tough because, you know, hours of prep, you know, getting the hair done. It's very much like, you know, like a pageant type thing.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. We do it pretty much
every Saturday in the fall.
Yeah. And then this one was at the San Diego Fair. And I was just super blessed that, you know, it was a Tuesday and they had a performance at night, and we wanted to treat the kids and make her happy. And so we spent all day at the fair, which was really cool. And just we're like, hey, we're just going to play games. No worries. Like, don't even worry about your performance tonight. Like, we're just going to have fun. You know, she had a blast. And I was able just to be there with family. It was middle Tuesday, not very many people considering it was the fair. You know, they all start pouring in at night, right? So we were able to enjoy all the games and all the rides we wanted to. And then at night, her performance came, and we're like, okay, well, you know, if she doesn't do it, that's fine. She's still 3. This is an overwhelming situation. She rocked it.
That's awesome.
She went out there with a smile on her face. She stayed out the whole time, and I was just like crying because I was like, oh my God, my little girl, she's performing now. And I think it was because we just had a great day together.
And you were both there at the thing, and
Yeah,
she knew
you know,
support was there.
Like, I feel
Yeah.
like if I had a 9 to 5 and, you know, I had to rush from work and see her, it'd be all scrambled, and we'd be sitting in traffic, and we wouldn't be able to, you know, be
And
there together.
Kids feed off that too. Like, they know if you're nervous and they feel that energy, like, that's going to make them
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah.
And so because everything was relaxed and chill all day, like, she
Yeah.
probably felt more comfortable.
That, or maybe it's because we fed her like 5 funnel cakes and
Yeah, right.
deep
yeah.
fried
Well,
Oreo
sugar
cookies
helps.
and
I mean, all
stuff.
that-
Yeah.
Might have
Full
something
sugar,
to do
right?
with
You know
it.
what I mean?
But do you always cry, like, when your kids do activities? Because it always makes me cry.
Not always, but my daughter, I think I have more of a, you know, sensitive heart for
We're whipped.
when it comes to, yeah.
The daughters wrap you right around
Dude.
their little finger.
Oh, my
Like,
son does too. When I watch him swim,
I think that's what it is. It's the opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the other day, you know, my son's doing basketball, and last year when he did basketball, I was the assistant coach also. He just didn't have the muscle to get the ball up above the rim because he was tiny, and it's an 8-foot rim still for a 5-year-old kid. It's tough. Half of the kids on the team couldn't even shoot. And this year at practice, the first practice, his first shot went in, and I was able to film it actually.
Oh,
I put it on Instagram, and he was just like, oh, so proud. And I was crying then because I knew he could do it. And it just took him one time to realize that, yeah, he can. And now he's confident.
That's awesome.
And are your kids like ours? Like, when something like that happens, Isaac will be like, put it on Facebook.
right. Like, share that. We got to get set.
For some reason, Keone is into Snapchat. I mean, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have a Snapchat account. He just
watches you do
knows
it.
about
sees
it.
your funny
Yeah, because
pictures.
I do it often during the day for 10-second spurts here and there.
Yeah.
So I think he's like, "Are you going to Snapchat that?" And I'm like, "That's not how it works." But I will put it on Instagram.
That's awesome, man. Jocelyn, what's your favorite thing that you've got to do or experience because of online business?
Oh, wow. I mean, there are honestly just so many things that I can think of right here. I mean, just being there for my kids all the time where we couldn't do that as teachers. Like, a lot of times people think that teaching, oh, you see your kids all the time if they go to your school, but you really don't see them that often, even if they are in your school. So, I mean, just being able to like experience things at school with them, that would be sort of like an everyday thing. As far as like other things we've had the opportunity to do, I mean, we got to visit, was it a temple or something in Korea?
Castle in Korea. We ended up in Seoul, Korea for some reason.
Yeah, I was like the only blonde person there. So, that was interesting.
Yeah. Oh, Britney Spears.
That's right.
So, I mean, that was incredible. And, being on the beach in the Philippines, I mean, I can think of like so many things that this lifestyle has enabled us to do that I never could have even dreamed of like 10 years ago.
Yeah, we were sitting in our anniversary was last Sunday, and we were sitting. We saved our anniversary dinner until we got to Chicago, and we were sitting like in just it wasn't even like it was just this nice restaurant. The food looked good. We found it online. We went in there and we were sitting in just together, and I just looked at Jocelyn. I went, would we be sitting here if we were still teachers 4 years ago? It's just all the little steps you take along the way. And going back to the kids, like for me, we've not only made it to all their games, but at least one of us has always been at every practice. And like, my dad was great. My dad was always at our stuff and always got us there. And he went to every game that we had. But like, practice was different. Like it's like extra bonus stuff that you get to do. And you get to see your kids make those first shots at practice. You get to see your kid win his first little race against his teammate. I think that is what's really given me a lot of perspective on life is we're seeing behind the scenes of what really happens during life. Dropping your kid off every day at school. And that's just mesmerizing to me that we get to do stuff like that.
I mean, and just imagine the impact that's going to have when they become parents. They're going to want that same thing too. So they're going to take that action to make it happen.
It's awesome, man. Yeah,
definitely.
So, and one thing I do want to touch on here too, like people will listen to this, and there's two things that really make me mad that people say to us. One is, well, you guys are just so lucky. And I'm like, no, that's it. I'm not saying that being in the right place at the right time has not helped us. But we put ourselves in the places at the time. We chose to be there.
Exactly.
And the other thing that drives me crazy too is, because you hear that story, and I don't want it to sound like we're rubbing it in, because people say, oh, well, you got it made. And I always look back right at them and I say, no, we made it happen. And I think that's what I want everybody to, when we tell those kind of stories, it's not to say, oh, look what we get to do. It's to say, look what you could do, you know? Mm-hmm. Well, Pat, man, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your day.
Thanks for having me.
You're a busy guy. You got a lot going on, and we're just thankful, man, that we're friends, and that you're out there doing your work, and we're out here doing our work, and we keep throwing those pebbles in the pond every day. So, thanks so much for coming on the 100th episode of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you so much.
Here's to another 100.
Here's to another 1,000. Let's keep it going
10,000.
Forever. 20,000. I'll see it. I'll raise it. All right. So, thanks, seriously, man. Thanks for coming on the show and everything you do for everybody online.
Thank you guys for what you do too.
All right, guys, that wraps up our interview with Pat Flynn. Hope you enjoyed that. So much information in there about a lot of topics we don't get to talk about in online business, like how to work around kids, how to get your spouse on board with your online business, just all the things that really go on in your life when you're an online entrepreneur. And just a super awesome conversation with Pat. Pat gave us a great can't miss moment there at the end of the interview when he was talking about being able to take his little girl and give her that opportunity to do the hula dancing and see her succeed and to be there for that event. And I think for our can't miss moment this week, we're just going to say it's podcast movement. Being here, being able to interview Pat, and just being able to have the opportunity to hang out with so many amazing people out there changing the world.
And for those of you who may be new to our show, can't miss moments are things that we might not have been able to experience without starting our online business and doing what we do every single day. And just being here in Chicago at Podcast Movement, speaking to Pat Flynn, who's been just an awesome mentor to us and just a great friend, and just hanging out here and doing what we do, like that's just an amazing can't miss moment, and something I couldn't have imagined doing even like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and opened our windows. We're on the 27th floor of the Hyatt looking out over the Great Lake out here, and the sun was coming up, and I was just so thankful and blessed for that. And it's just amazing the difference online business really makes in your life. And if you're on the fence thinking about starting an online business, or maybe you're knee deep in the weeds and you can't quite figure out how to get over the hump, we would love to help you take your online business to the next level. And all you have to do is go over to fliplifestyle.com/flipyourlife, and we would love to help you make it happen in your life, because we don't want this just for us. We want it for everybody that's willing to put in the work and get out there and do it and make it happen for themselves.
And as we close the show, we just want to reemphasize something that we spoke to Pat about earlier, and that is just letting people know how their content is affecting you, how it is changing your life, or just making you think about things in a different way. So if we have impacted you in any way over our last 100 episodes and you have never left an iTunes review for us before, we would just encourage you to do that. We read every single one as they come in, and they just mean so much to us. And so we would really, really appreciate your support in doing that and helping us celebrate our 100 episodes.
All right, guys, that wraps up the 100th episode of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Make sure you come back next week for episode 101 as we continue our mission to get out there and help people flip their lives. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, get out there and do whatever it takes to take action and flip your life. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this best of edition of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. We would love to help you take your next steps toward your goals. We have a free online business quick start course over at our website at flippedlifestyle.com. This course will help you set big goals and make them happen, find and validate your ideas today, and help you identify and find your perfect customers. Our online business quick start guide is a free resource, and you can get it right now over at flippedlifestyle.com. That's FLIPPED lifestyle.com. Head there right now and download your free resource today.